Hi, welcome to KimchiTech English. I can understand spoken English, but I can't speak it. Have you ever thought this to yourself? I have. But there are ways to improve your English speaking skills so that you won't just understand it, but can speak it as well. There are some common challenges English learners face that can prevent them from speaking fluently. Challenge 1. You have a limited vocabulary. Challenge 2. You know the word, but you're not sure how to use it in conversation. Challenge 3. You're afraid of making grammar mistakes. Today, I want to talk to you about how these challenges can be overcome. Before we dive in, please click the like button. I really appreciate it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to KimchiTech English. Every week, I publish a new video to help you learn English, so make sure to click the bell below this video. Now, let's start by discussing the first challenge. Challenge 1. You have limited vocabulary. What can you do to solve this? Do you know how babies start learning languages? The parents give basic words, and they start with basic conversation. After that, the baby repeat what the parents say. Repetition is crucial for mastering a new language. Another important point is learning vocabulary in context. Find as many examples of a phrase as you can. For instance, if you're learning the word happiness, look up its meaning and then find some example sentences using that word. Most dictionaries provide plenty of examples, which you can look up and write down. Seeing a word in different combinations and phrases helps you understand how to use it. When you learn new words, start creating your own sentences right away. You can send a message to a friend using these new words, but be sure to form your own sentences. This way, you're not just learning, you're practicing and improving your ability to use English. Another effective way to improve your speaking skills is by asking yourself questions. Ask yourself something, then try to answer it. At first, it might be difficult to come up with the right words, but your brain will get used to searching for information. When I was learning English, I realized I spent hours watching videos in English and listening to various speakers. I could understand them well, but when it came to speaking, I felt stuck. I couldn't remember the words, and my vocabulary seemed limited. The problem was that I had no one to practice with, so I started asking myself questions. After watching a video lesson on YouTube, I would retell everything in my own words and then ask myself questions. It might have looked strange, but talking to myself helped a lot. I learned how to memorize words and use them in sentences. Challenge 2. You know the word, but you're not sure how to use it in conversation. You can use all the tips I just mentioned, and here's another important one. Use a monolingual dictionary where all the definitions are in English, not your native language. By avoiding translations, you'll be able to understand English words better and feel more confident using them in natural conversation. Learn stock phrases. Those are well-known and overused phrases that you can apply in many situations. For example, the phrase, "Can you explain me about this?" is versatile and will make you feel more confident when speaking. Learn phrases that help you start a conversation, express agreement or disagreement, and ask common questions. This is crucial for improving your speaking skills. Challenge 3. You're afraid of making grammar mistakes. Do you know how babies start learning languages? The parents give basic words, and they start with basic conversation. After that, the baby repeat what the parents say. Repetition is crucial for mastering a new language. When a baby is born, they learn language by listening and understanding first. Then, after a year or more, they start speaking. They don't read grammar rules, but they can speak without making grammar mistakes. Why? Because they learn and adopt different speech patterns. Don't focus on learning grammar rules. Focus on learning grammar patterns. Grammar patterns describe how words are used in English. For example, the verb arrive is almost always used with the preposition at, but it's easy to confuse it with to or on. I arrived in the airport yesterday. That's incorrect. I arrived at the airport yesterday. Correct. He arrived on the meeting. That's incorrect. He arrived at the meeting. Correct. When we talk about a country or city, we say arrive in. But for places like airports, hotels, railway stations, and home, we say arrive at. If you learn the patterns, it will be easier to use them. Without speaking practice, it's impossible to become fluent. So practice and repeat out loud all the new phrases and grammar patterns you learn. When I was learning English grammar, I found conditionals particularly challenging. I spent hours reading grammar rules and doing exercises, but it was still confusing because my native language doesn't have the same rules. But when I started to repeat the patterns, I mastered conditional sentences and no longer needed to think about which verb forms to use. It just flowed naturally. For example, if I won $1 million, I would buy a sport car. If I won $1 million, I would buy a sport car. If I won $1 million, I would buy a sport car. By repeating grammar constructions, you memorize new patterns and will naturally use them in conversation without having to think about which tense or preposition to use. You'll speak naturally and fluently. I've discussed the challenges that prevent students from speaking English fluently. I hope this video was helpful. If you can understand English well but struggle with speaking, use my tips to improve your speaking skills and become a confident English speaker. And if you like this video and want more like it, click the subscribe button and the bell because I make weekly video lessons to empower and inspire you to learn English and take your skills to the next level. Thanks for watching. See you next time.